Thirdly, we do believe that the leadership so far has been very inclusive. We're fully supportive of Jacob Zuma, Gwede Mantashe, who is one of my old mates. You know, they're powerful guys. We think that they are actually leading the country in an inclusive direction. And they have sort of not allowed themselves to be, you know, forced into divisive policies by any party in this country at the moment. And lastly, would you believe it, Zimbabwe is finally opening up for business. It's early days yet, but I have an Indian friend who lives in Louis Trichardt. In fact, he owns most of Louis Trichardt. And guess what he's doing? He's building a huge shopping center outside Messina. And he says that traffic into Zim has gone ballistic in the last few months because finally Zimbabweans have access to foreign capital and they're purchasing South African goods to replenish their shelves. Now, of course, this is just a start. And it's not a long-term sustainable thing, this, but at least it's a beginning of a positive flag. But I'd like to end up with one story about one pocket of excellence to illustrate how important this particular concept is. I was chairman of the Anglo-American Open Scholarship Panel for a long time. We interviewed matric students for one open scholarship that we awarded, and because we not only paid basic university fees, we paid living allowance, generous living allowance, plus an overseas trip. It was like auditioning for idols. Lots of people applied for the Anglo Open. And last year, we interviewed the brightest student that we have ever interviewed as a panel. We all agreed. This guy got straight A's in matric when he was 16. He got a scholarship to St. John's College in Johannesburg when he was 15. He's from Mthatha, and his name is Siubelela Zuza. And the first question we put to him was, what degree have you chosen and why? And he said, I've chosen chemical engineering at UCT. And the reason is that I developed this fascination for chemicals when I was 12 years old. I started mixing them in my mother's kitchen, causing minor explosions to her utter dismay. And then I focused on a project, which was to create a rocket fuel that was more energy intensive and safer than the stuff NASA uses to propel its rockets into outer space. And it took me 2 years, and I cracked it, and I built my own homemade rocket. I filled it with my own homemade fuel, and I beat the South African amateur altitude record. This project was entered into the Eskom Science Expo, and I was awarded not only the top prize for technical innovation, but the most prestigious prize in terms of my project. And the award for that was to be sent to Sweden to meet the King and Queen of Sweden and to attend the Nobel Prize giving ceremony. And an opportunity arose from that to enter the largest junior science competition in the world, which is held annually in America under the auspices of Intel. Not only did I win 2 top prizes in that competition, the organizers were so impressed by my fuel that they sent it to the Lincoln Laboratory, which is affiliated to NASA, who promptly named a minor planet after me. I mean, how many of you know about this guy? You know, he's not well known. He certainly doesn't get the coverage that Julius Malema gets. And yeah. It is a fantastic achievement for a guy from Mthatha to be heralded as one of the chief innovators in rocket fuel technology in the world. Because that's, you don't get a minor planet named after you for nothing. It's next to Jupiter, by the way, if you've got a strong enough telescope, and it's called the Siazusa planet. But now comes the crunch. 3 months after we awarded him the scholarship, he comes running up to me at ORT International and says, hey, Mr. Sunter, do you remember me? I said, Sia, I'm never going to forget you. How's UCT? He says, you haven't heard. So I said, no. He said, Harvard University have awarded me an open scholarship, so I'm off there in the fall. That's where he is. He's at Harvard University, the #1 rated university in the world. And he sent me an email 2 weeks ago, you know, telling me about his first year and the kind of people that he'd met, like Joe Biden, Al Gore. I mean, you know, and of course he's getting much more press coverage in America. And, you know, that's when the penny dropped for me. I mean, Americans, whatever you say about them, they celebrate excellence. When that crew brought that plane down in the Hudson River and there were no fatalities, within 2 months, they were given the freedom of New York. we tolerate mediocrity. We're like Australians. And, you know, we've just got to get over that because we have so many pockets of excellence in this country. And if we use them to raise the game, then we can not only get into the top 30, we can actually get into the top 20 nations on earth because there is the most amazing talent in this country. And for me, that is the biggest thing. Are we going to use those pockets of excellence to raise our ranking, or are we going to dumb them down? And yeah, that is for me a huge flag. So I hope I've converted you into foxes temporarily to see out this recession and the volatile times we're living in. Obviously, you need hedgehogs. You need both. In the old medieval courts, you had a person called the court jester. He was the fox who went to the king and not only made the king laugh, but said, "Squire, the barons are restless." And yeah, he got the king to adapt his strategy. And that's what you need in companies as well. You need both foxes and you need hedgehogs. Secondly, I hope I've given you a feel for the global economic scenarios. We feel that right now we're in the corrugated U, but watch the flags for the new balls, please, or indeed our fork lightning scenario. And lastly, you know, I hope we've given you a feeling of being comfortable about being in South Africa, because this is not a bad place to be to see out the hard times scenario. Yeah, in fact, a lot of overseas South Africans are agreeing with us because they're coming home, because they've lost their jobs overseas. But you know, people are coming back to South Africa because it is incredibly tough in particularly Europe at the moment. There is a website, www.mindofafox.com, mindofafox.com, which you can go to. If you just Google the words mind and fox, we are the #1 website in the world. This was tested out the other day by an American in the audience who couldn't believe it. So he got out his BlackBerry and he did that and he said, "You are." And it's true. We're getting thousands of hits every day on our website, not just from obviously South Africa, but overseas, because people are looking to think about the future in a different way. So go to mindofafox.com. I bought a few books along. If anybody wants a copy of Socrates and the Fox, I can flog it to you for 130 Rand. That's what I pay as the author. But I would highly recommend the rare unsigned copy if you wish to buy a copy. And finally, I will leave you with a benediction for TBWA, for Hunt Lascaris, and for all of you in your lives. May the fox be with you. Thank you very much. Thank you.